Hi there, and welcome to yet another episode of What's With You with MKM. My name is Monica Muravha, and as you know, I am your host. Today in studio, we've got Mr. Gift Malinga, who is a student at the Wits University. He's currently studying towards a degree as a social worker. He is also the secretary of the Christian Action Fellowship on campus. So today we are really graced to have him in studio as he will be telling us a bit more about his journey. He is the last born of 5 kids and was also born at Liratom village. He's sitting just for you. How are you doing, Mr. Malinga?
I'm doing well, and how are you?
I'm blessed, thanks. I'm so happy to have you in studio today.
I'm happy to be here.
Halala. So who is Mr. Gift Malinga?
For me, honestly, if I were to say who is Gift Malinga, I wouldn't have an explanation. Like, I've been looking at it since the time you sent me questions, and I couldn't answer it because one thing that came to me is that we evolve every day.
Okay.
And who I am today is not who I am tomorrow. Who I was yesterday is not who I am today.
Okay.
So basically, I have certain aspects of who I am. I have certain ideas of who I am. I continuously learn about myself every day, but then I cannot define myself today as I was yesterday, because there are things that I've learned about myself today which I did not know yesterday. So I continue to evolve. So basically, if I were to answer the question, who is Gift Malinga, I don't know. You know, I understand that the Bible tells us that we are made in the image of Christ, and we are made in the image of God. And yes, that's my identity.
Okay.
And because I haven't come to the full knowledge of Christ, therefore I can't say I know who I am. You see, because till the day I know Christ fully, then I know who I am. So I continue to evolve.
I see.
But who Gift is, I don't know.
Halala. Okay. So you mentioned that you are the last born, and you've got 5 siblings, if I'm not mistaken. So 4 siblings, or you are the 5th one.
Yes.
Sorry about that. So tell us a bit more about your upbringing.
Okay, so my mom passed away when I was 5 years old, I think, just a month before I would start school.
Okay.
And she had registered me in a school far away from the time, and my father, by the time, I think my mom started getting sicker, like in 2003, at the beginning of the year. And then I've never seen my father since then. You see, so when my mom got sick, he didn't come. And then I had to start school in 2004 when my mom just passed on. And then I stopped in the middle of the year in 2004. So I couldn't continue because my sisters could not afford transport anymore. And my father was not around. Then I stopped in 2005. I started again school at that time. Then I learned from there. Then when I got to about 12 years old, I started living alone at the time. Then my sisters, all of my sisters moved out. My eldest sister had a husband. And then my second born sister had a boyfriend. And then my third born sister had a boyfriend as well at the time.
Okay.
So basically, they all left. And when they left, I was left alone in the house. So basically, I left alone. I had to take care of myself alone. I had grant at the time, but then I did not know where it went. I didn't know who was receiving it. I didn't know anything about it. So basically, I had to make ways for myself to
as a 12-year-old.
As a 12-year-old, to then become a man at that time.
Oh my goodness.
So basically, I had to make sure that I eat. I had to make sure that I sleep properly. I remember I used to be so scared, basically at night most of the time. And when I was so scared, I would stay in the house, and when I hear footsteps walking in the yard, what I do is that I would role play with myself. Then I would play with the voice of an elder as if I'm disciplining a child. So they would think that there's an elder in the house. So that became my everyday life from the age 12 till today, basically. So basically, I had to learn to take care of myself. I had to learn to start working at that age. I had to learn to do homeworks by myself, to learn to discipline myself. Basically, basically that's just how I was, and that's just how I lived and took care of myself.
So then as a 12-year-old, like, how did you get to the point where you were making means? How were you making those means to be able to eat, to be able to go to school?
So basically, there's this guy, I think I would call him one of my mentors at the time, who lived in the same street as me. So when he started seeing that I'm living alone at the time, he would call me sometimes and I would come and clean the yard for him. So when I cleaned the yard for him, I remember I was about 10, 13 at the time. So when I was cleaning the yard for him, he would then pay me 100 rands and so. So when he pays me 100 rand or around that amount, I would take that money, then buy food with that, and then I remember, so basically that became one of the sources of funding for myself. And then one of the worst things I had to do, the neighbors, my neighbors who stayed next door, basically. So at the time when they moved in, I think I was 13 years old at the time when they moved in, and I was living alone this time, and my sister's child had moved in with me, but then my sister was not there, so I had to take care of myself and the child itself at the time. So when my neighbors moved in, they used to sell nyaup and all these things. So basically they struggled a lot with who's going to be their courier to then get the distribution to get their things from their supplier, which is their family in Soweto in White City, to this home. So basically, because they see that my condition at home, and because I'm still a child, some kind of in a way, and I didn't have any means to. So, and I wanted food. So what they did is that they would then give me transport money to go that side and fetch those things for them. And then that would then become my source of food.
But did you know what you were collecting at that particular time?
I knew, because when I would count them with them. So basically they would give them in my hand. Then I would look at all of them and see how many they are. And they give me the plastic. So I knew what I was collecting at the time.
But because of the situation.
I was forced to then succumb to it.
Yeah. So then, with all this being said, what is your definition of hardship?
Two things: survival and meaning. So basically, for me, what defines a hardship, for me, it's not basically the situation of it being hard. Basically, what defines hardship is how you make it out of it. So basically, how you survive. You see, so basically, to say that if I'm struggling with mathematics, the struggle in itself, like me remaining in the situation, doesn't speak of hardship in itself. So me trying to find a means to survive, then that speaks in hardship to me, saying that learning how to survive and learning to then find meaning in that struggle that I'm having. That is hardship, basically. I'm facing difficulties, yes, but those difficulties define hardship. So my progress in that hardship is the one that gives it meaning.
Wow. So tell us about your journey with God.
So it began, I think for me, my journey with the Lord began, like I remember when I was young, when they used to ask me, people around. So there's another granny who stays next door to my house, and she always drank. She says, you see. So they used to ask me a lot to say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I don't know why, but I always say I want to be a pastor. I didn't know by the time I was not saying it. So I was still not saying it at the time, and I did not know God. You see, but then I knew that I continuously said to them, I want to become a pastor. And then when the time went by, I remember at about age 14 to 15, I was taking my friend. Basically, I was just accompanying my friend to church because he was going to practice drama that they were going to act. Then we went, they practiced, and then on the Sunday I was going to see the performance, but then he ended up not going. But then I went, and then that day then became the beginning of my journey with God. You see, that's when it began, and it has been hard because at the time I'm still living alone, and I'm still in high school, and I still have to make sure that I pass in all these things, and then there's God. But then when I still have God, it's been hard in itself. But then throughout the journey, I had to then learn that God is faithful and God is good. I think my journey with the Lord is amazing.
Wow. But have you ever been at a point where you felt like God is sort of punishing you, or God has somehow rejected you based on everything that you are going through at that particular moment?
My life from the age 12 defined exactly that. Because for anybody else who might have went through the same situation that I went through myself, they could say, God doesn't exist. Why would you let a 12-year-old boy go through all of that? Why would you let someone who has family in this community go through all of these things? But then then you say God exists.
Sure.
You see, for me, so basically my whole childhood defined it. That I felt like God is punishing me as if I did something wrong. You see, basically, so that's how it has been throughout the time. So I think with that, it defines just that. Even now, sometimes it happens. When sometimes you fall into sin or you do something wrong and then you feel like when something wrong is happening or you pray for a certain thing and you don't receive it, you feel as though God is punishing you. So I think situations differ, but for me, my whole childhood growing up has defined exactly that. From the moment the day my mom passed, you see, it has defined exactly that.
So at the moment you are a student at Wits University, like really, and you are studying to be a social worker. Why a social worker?
I love people.
Okay.
One thing that I always question myself is that how did I come to forgive my sisters even when I was given no apology? When even when you tell them of how they never participated and taken care of you in any way. But then when you tell them that, they still don't feel sorry. You see, they still don't, but then I see that I'm able to forgive. At that moment, I then asked myself, I always wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher, but then I couldn't. And I then asked myself, what exactly do I want? What exactly brings me on this earth? What exactly am I here? The purpose. Then I knew in me that I want to make a change. And I don't want anybody else who might be going through the same things that I went through to then give up. Because I didn't. There's no family member of mine that can claim to say that I did this so you can get to Wits University. There's none of them that can claim that. But I did it. God did it for me.
It can only be God.
So it can only be God. So I want to then encourage people to say that it is possible even though you are alone. So basically individualism isn't a bad thing. It isn't wrong at all. So going up alone, it's painful, yes. But then here's the thing about pain, is that pain, the wounds of pain give us wisdom. You see, we draw wisdom from the pain that we face. So basically, that in itself, the pain that I went through, the sufferings that I went through gave me wisdom to say that, do you still want people who are going through the same things, to then have no help and no assistance at all? So basically, that's one of the reasons why. And also, it's just that, there's a lot of reasons, but I think this one defines it. I'm in love with people.
Wow, and you're in love with God, first of all. So in closing, what would you say to someone out there that is facing hardship and feel uguti, I can't handle it anymore. I think I just want to end my life. I think I just want to give up because there's no hope any longer.
Okay. So, I'll quote the Bible basically. Ecclesiastes chapter number 3 says, for there is a time and a season for everything that happens under the earth.
Yes.
So the problem is that maybe the challenge is that you are giving more time to the pain that you're feeling, and then because you're giving more time to the pain that you're feeling, you're expecting that there will no longer be time for happiness. So although now you're feeling sad, although now you're feeling like giving up, do not succumb to the pain. Do not succumb to the moment and define your whole life based on the current feeling. So basically, with time, if you give God time, if you allow yourself to then heal, if you allow yourself to then go through the process, you'll get to a point where you realize that in time and in moments, we get to heal and we get to then prosper, And if I made it out, so what would make it impossible for
Wow. I am so touched. I am so touched by your testimony. I don't want to call it a story anymore. It's a testimony. I thank the Lord that He has kept you, and He has kept you for such a reason where you would be able to be a mouthpiece to those that are going through, a similar situation. So I really thank the Lord for your life, the worship that you're doing, the great work that you are doing. May God continue to keep you. May He strengthen you all the time, and may you never keep quiet about the great things that God is doing upon your life. It can only be God. It can only be God. So I am really touched by today's episode. I've learned a lot. And you know, just as he said, that this is encouragement to everybody that is going through hardships, that you know, we are going through it, you know, for a purpose, but most importantly, God is able. So let us just place our trust in God at all times and know that He is able to move mountains, and whatever situation we are going through, He's the omnipotent God who is greater than all situations. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of What's Your View with MKM. We will definitely be here again next week talking about a very interesting topic. Bye.